Across the Queen City, inside executive boardrooms and high-tech startups. From research impacting the future of how we do business, to providing critical infrastructure to keep business moving and to keep workers safe. For more than 50 years, Business Niners have been at the forefront as doers, bold leaders, and change agents, driving business in Charlotte and beyond.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Troyer, Dean of the Belk College of Business. Welcome to our Dean's Leadership Series. This Lunchtime Online series is part of our year-long celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Belk College of Business at UNC Charlotte. The Dean's Leadership Series aims to celebrate the 50th anniversary of our college and also give back to the Charlotte community by welcoming distinguished guest speakers, executive business practitioners, and thought leaders who will share their insights and experiences regarding the current challenges and future opportunities facing our business community. With the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic, family-owned businesses are facing the reality of a new and evolving economic landscape. We'll hear from Charlotte family-owned business leaders who will share their insights into how they're responding to these unprecedented challenges. So now I want to introduce to you our moderator, Dr. Torsten Pieper. Dr. Pieper is an associate professor of management in the Belk College, a noted author and researcher. He is president of the International Family Enterprise Research Academy and the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Family Business Strategy. So the Journal of Family Business Strategy is one of the only two journals dedicated entirely to the scientific study of family businesses. He is also one of 9 researchers who are part of a global research project currently ongoing that is gauging how family businesses are adapting to the COVID-19 pandemic. Torsten, welcome to the Dean's Leadership Series.
Thank you very much, Dean Troyer. It's my pleasure to be here with you all today. I'm also very grateful for your very kind introduction, and I'm also honored to be a member of a really fantastic group of family business scholars that we have here at the Belk College with Franz Kellermans, Laura Stanley, Justin Webb, Victor Chen, and several others. So we have a really great team here, and I'm glad we can share some of our work with you today. So I'd like to welcome our panelists to today's webinar and give them the opportunity to introduce themselves here for a few moments before we start with our round of questions here. So Larry, Griffin, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, thanks. And delighted to be on this panel as well. Well, our family has a very long Charlotte heritage. Our parents were born and raised in Charlotte, as was Mike and myself. I attended UNCC on a golf scholarship from 1980 to 84. I can honestly say I loved every minute of it. After graduating, went to work in the family business. At the time, we just had one tire store in the Charlotte area that our father and his brother started. So that was my main charge, I guess, for the next 27 years, was to run the tire stores. We grew it to 10 stores, sold the business 4 years ago. After that, and during that time, we had diversified into quite a few other businesses. I'm sure Mike will elaborate on that. But we started a brewery this year. The idea, I guess, came up a couple of years ago. We opened March 26, about 10 days into the pandemic. Great timing. But we had no choice. Beer was ready. So it was takeout, food and beer for the first 2 months until phase 2 kicked in. And we're still in phase 2, obviously, roughly 50% capacity. We very fortunately have a lot of outside area, large beer garden. So that really helps with the business. And I'm still involved with the university. I've served on various boards, as I still do. So that's about me in a nutshell. Married, got 4 kids. My son's getting his master's in finance from UNCC. He graduates. He's a Belk scholar. He graduates in April. One daughter went to Chapel Hill, one went to Wilmington, and one went to App. So I put them out all over the state.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome. Mike, please.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here with my big brother, Larry, 49er. I do recall in high school enjoying some of his Chi Phi fraternity events on campus. When I graduated a few years later than he, and from college, I also went straight to work for the family business, and I guess participate a little bit more in the diversification of our family's original business in the tires. So over time, over the decades, we have expanded into waste management. We have construction and demolition waste facilities throughout the Carolinas that we own and manage, and diversified in real estate in conjunction with my brother. And then in the last few years, we created a private investment division of our family business called Zoom Up Investments, where we currently have 8 investments with young, dynamic entrepreneurial leaders to grow in kind of the dirty space. You know, as my brother mentioned, we started the tire business, and also waste. We kind of have an affinity for dirty type jobs, and I'm very proud to have 8 young men that work for us. 2 are 49ers, Thomas Goforth, my oldest of my Zoomers, and my youngest, Grayson Oxidine. So we do have some 49er legacy into our business. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Welcome to you. Chuck, would you like to introduce yourself?
Have to unmute myself. All right, yeah, Chuck Howard, Autobell Car Wash, Charlotte native. Family business started actually in 1969, the year I graduated from Wingate Junior College, which is now a university, and I immediately transferred to UNCC. Our company was absolutely a fledgling, floundering company that my dad held together as best he could. I actually ran one of our locations, which was close to UNCC, so it was very easy for me to get there and do what I could. My dad also founded a sister company called Halco Incorporated that sells car wash equipment and supplies to the industry. So that kept me pretty busy during my college years, but I did finish UNCC with a bachelor's degree in business administration. And by that time, I think we had 4 locations. So the company had experienced some pretty rapid growth in a couple of years. And I could easily see that most everything that I had studied in business at UNCC was going to be useful to me as we kept going forward. So that was my start. We continued to grow. My dad passed away in 1986, and I took over as president, continued to grow the company. It's very much a family business. I have 3 children, 2 daughters and a son who all work in the business. And now we have 10 grandchildren who a couple of them are in the business, but as they graduate from college, a couple of them are at East Carolina now, one's at NYU, one's at West Virginia. We've had a couple graduate from Western. So we have sort of a unwritten policy that if you want to work for us, you got to work someplace else first. And so that's sort of what's going on. But I suspect some will come into the company eventually. We expect them to carry their weight, just as we all did. I started out running a car wash and building car washes, and the others, my son, who is now our COO, did the same thing. When he graduated from UNC, he ran a car wash for quite some time. And now today he's our COO. We have grown the company to 87 car washes now, and We have somewhere around 2,000 employees. I say somewhere around because a lot of them are part-time. Many of them are students. It's a great job for students. And so we continue on that path. Like a lot of businesses, we've had to pause a little bit during the pandemic and reassess our budgets and future plans, but we can see things beginning to get brighter, and we hope that that will continue and that we don't experience more of this pandemic as we get into the winter. So that's where we are. That's who I am, and glad to be here today.
Thank you, Chuck. Delighted to have you. Susan, you're unmuted. You're muted, sorry.
And I'm the best talker. It's hard to believe I was muted. I'm Susan. I'm a UNCC graduate. I graduated with a degree in accounting, started in public accounting, and then went to work for a family that had an operating company. And I started in the operating company, and then they asked me to come and work in the family office. And I thought, oh, this will be the easiest job ever. And boy, I didn't know what that was, but ended up loving it. And so I ran a big family office for over 25 years. And then for the last 7 years, I've been a consultant to family offices and high net worth families, helping them on family offices and philanthropy. Love working on philanthropy and charitable giving. So the family offices have been impacted by the COVID as well. Most of my clients do not have operating companies now. They've had liquidity events. So most of them have been looking for opportunities for investments during this time frame, because they can't let a good crisis go to waste. So there's a lot of opportunities to employ capital for good companies. So they've been very busy in the COVID environment looking for deal flow for good operating companies. Glad to be with you.
Thank you very much, Susan, and warm welcome again to all of you. This is just a fabulous group of panelists here. We look forward to learning from you and hearing your experiences. So let us start with a few questions that we have prepared for you. And for the attendees, you're welcome to post your questions in the chat box. We'll collect them and then ask them toward the end. So please feel free to post your questions to the panelists. Let us start maybe with you, Larry, and Mike. So you shared that you've been diversifying quite extensively with your various businesses, brewery, Zuma program. Tell us, how have you been faring through this pandemic, and how are your various businesses and initiatives doing?
Well, I'll start first. I'll speak to the brewery a little bit. As I mentioned in the intro, obviously it's affected us when you're 50% capacity, but we've done well. The community's been amazing for the support. We're distributing our product out. We're in about 65 restaurants, bars, even a grocery store now. So that's going well. Mike will sure speak to more of the business side of it. It's affected our family some. For the last 3 years, we have done a family retreat, which is all my kids, Mike's kids, our parents, my kids' significant others since they're older. And we did it this year in October, but our parents did not attend. Obviously, the kids are out living their lives, and just for COVID reasons, we did a Zoom meeting with them, and so they attended in that fashion. But that was a lot of fun. We even introduced a Shark Tank component to our meeting this year, to where all the kids presented business plans and ideas, and that was really entertaining. We have sort of the same philosophy like Chuck. It's sort of an unwritten rule that our kids cannot come to work for us for at least a couple of years. They need to go work somewhere else. And so that's happening right now. But yeah, just looking forward to the light at the end of the tunnel, get past this.
piggyback a great comment that Susan made, never waste the crisis and look for opportunities when the crisis. And my brother's done a wonderful job of that with Royal Bliss Brewing Company in Denver. And I'll maybe talk about challenges before I talk about great opportunities. We're a little bit blessed in that we have a diversified family business. So some things have been challenged and some things have done really well. So it kind of balanced itself out. The challenging components are hospitality. Well, let me back up. We actually own a golf course. We own Pine Island Country Club in Northwest Charlotte. And surprisingly, that's been quite well. I think because people have been quarantined at home and golf was allowed to be open, that's done quite well. But we also own a restaurant in addition to microbrew, and we own an event space for weddings that obviously has had a off time. The other last negative comment is that we own a 300-bed student housing complex for Johnson C. Smith University, and they chose to their kids aren't in school. They're all online this year, so the student housing complex is empty. So anyway, that's the mixed bag of challenges related to diversification. Now, the positive is that in 2016, when we sold the founding business, the tire and automotive repair business, we created a private equity division we call Zoom Up Investments, and we invested in service-based companies that are not really affected by economic cycles and thankfully haven't been affected by the COVID crisis. We have heating and cooling, electrical, service-based businesses, and even uglier grease trap and septic pumping type business and repair. Those businesses have really kind of thrived and done well because as people stay home more and they mess up their homes more, we come to hopefully fix them. So been very fortunate in that regard. So when it's all said and done, we feel fortunate that our diversification has helped. We've always been lean and mean. We've been around for 60 years now. So I do recall 1981, prime interest rate got above 20. And that was about 6 months before, well, about a year before then, my dad and our uncles started their second location near Eastland Mall and had to pay 21% interest. So I think that teaches you to be conservative and safe. So we don't have, frankly, we're blessed. We have the ability to run for years without any type of concern with economy or with what we have now with COVID. So we are looking for opportunities to grow more. And as maybe Susan said, take advantage of the crisis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Larry, Mike. And if I can chime in here, this is something that we've seen consistently in our research with how family businesses deal with this pandemic. You see a lot of family businesses doing this type of counter-cyclical investment, right? Where they are very proactive, like you all, about making investments during this time to do other things and to really enhance, but also change in some ways what they've been doing. So thanks for sharing those insights with us.
And ask the Griffin brothers what the name was, that the first name for the Zoomers was. It wasn't Zoomers, it was a funnier name that they told us about on the quick call.
Yeah, Bub, B-U-B, for buying ugly businesses. And I think the term ugly, and actually we changed it to Bub, buying unique businesses. And then we had some younger folks get involved, and they said, you know what, because it's really the next generation, millennials and Gen Zs, we're focused on partnering with. And I think the term Zoom Up, and this is before Zoom became popular, like the Zoom webinar, we coined the term Zoom Up 3 years ago, and we have used that as our investment strategy, or at least what we call it.
Very visionary. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Turning to you, Chuck, like family businesses in general, we see are very put a lot of emphasis and a lot of value on their customers, but also on their employees. We see that throughout the all sizes, ages of businesses. So your business model is very much built around really close interaction and contact between your employees and your customers. So what things have you done at Autobell to keep your employees and your customers safe, protected during this pandemic. Can you share a few?
Certainly. Yes, our employees are very important to us, and a lot of them are youngsters. As I said before, a lot of them are students, and so their parents are concerned about them working. Our customers are concerned about us getting in their cars and so forth. We are very fortunate in that we already have a safety director who has been in place for a number of years. Because of the number of employees and dealing with OSHA and workman's compensation, we have that safety director who does an excellent job of developing plans to protect our employees. Secondly, we already, when the pandemic hit, we already had a process that we were working on, which was going to be an extra service. It was a disinfectant service, because insides of cars, most people don't realize, pandemic aside, insides of cars, touch points can be very dirty, germy. So sanitization, we thought, would be a good extra service to offer. So when the pandemic hit around February, March, we were far enough along. We had been working on the process, the chemistry, the equipment to deliver this service. And so we decided to go ahead and roll it out right away, free of charge. And the way it works is we have a product, it's a hospital grade disinfectant that we disinfect the car before we get in it. And that involves a little extra time. We have to turn on the air conditioning with the recirculation, so it circulates through the duct system in the car. And then after a prescribed amount of time, we feel it's safe for our employees to get in and clean the inside of the car. Then when they're finished, they wipe down all the touch points in the car with the same disinfectant. The steering wheel, gear shift, safety belts, door handles, anywhere that might be touched. So disinfecting before we get in protects our employees from the customers, and disinfecting before we give it back to the customers, it protects the customers from us. And so it's been very well received by our customers, especially people that are in the medical profession, doctors and nurses. They understand it, they know what it is, and they demand. Police departments, they can't get enough of it. We even disinfect vehicles that we can't wash. For example, fire trucks, ambulances, even the Postal Service has brought some of their vehicles to us for disinfecting. And we do that all free of charge. Last time I checked, which I think was last week, we had disinfected 1.3 million vehicles. And that number is rising rapidly because we continue to this day. So that's, in a nutshell, what we've done to protect our customers. There are a lot of other things that our safety director has implemented. Protocols for the car wash locations, such as one-way hallways, closing drinking fountains, limiting seating to the 6-foot distancing, and of course face mask and the other things that are recommended by CDC. By the way, our employees do wear face masks when they get in the car. At our home office, we also have protocols for safety, which involves the one-way hallway, so people aren't passing in the hall. We have a self-assessment when you come in the door. There's a self-assessment that asks all the questions. Do you have a fever? Have you been sick? Have you been with anyone who might be sick? And if you answer any of those questions, then you're not allowed to come in. We also have the digital thermometers at our office that we can check, or people can check their own temperature, as well as we use the same disinfectant material in the office frequently, several times a week to disinfect, plus multiple times during the day, touch points are wiped down in the office. I could go on, but it's all part of our safety director's efforts to keep everybody safe, and it's been very effective. And then our sister company, Halco, has a whole nother set of concerns because they have technicians that are out servicing car wash equipment and installing and so forth. And that business has been very good. The investors are interested in car washes now, so they continue to come and build new washes. And so we have to instruct our technicians and our salespeople how to behave as far as face masks, distancing, sanitizing their vehicles and workplaces. So it's been a challenge, but we've come through it, and we expect to continue to grow as we get into next year and beyond. And like everyone, we're hoping there's not a resurgence of this pandemic, but that remains to be seen. We'll deal with it when necessary.
That's just brilliant. Thank you very much, Chuck. Susan, turning to you. You know and work with a lot of families in business that are still operating their own businesses. You also work with a lot that had a liquidity event, in other words, sold their businesses and now are looking after their investment portfolios. So you have a very broad understanding of a lot of families. What have you seen these families do to stay connected while having to be physically apart, which is a little bit paradoxical, right? But I'm sure you have some stories, insights to share with us as to what you've observed.
Well, I've seen a lot of creativity and innovation, and that's encouraging. So I've seen people be more creative than I've seen in years. And Zoom has been helpful. I know we all have Zoom fatigue. We're exhausted, but it really has really been helpful. I saw one family it was a family business that Chuck could do this at his family. It was a family business about 75 years old. And they did a Zoom meeting to review all the logos the company had. And they'd had a lot of them. And it was a Zoom review of logos and a critique of the logos. And of course, everybody has opinions of logos. And of course, the young generation thought all the logos were horrible. But it was it was the generations to explain what the logo was supposed to embody at that point in time and that point in history. And so the reports were that it was very fun. And then the millennials were supposed to come up with, well, if they were doing a new logo now, what would it be? But just fun stuff like that. I think everybody learned, from the older generation, well, this was the World War II logo, and this is why it looked like this, because the younger people didn't even get what the logo meant. So just some stuff like that. Another one did bring your favorite photo of a vacation. And so some of the cousins that don't live near each other discovered that they went to the same resort on vacation, but they never knew, because when they go to these family retreats, sometimes those can kind of be, family meetings can be kind of scripted, and you've got to do this and this and this, and you go to breakout sessions and you don't even understand, oh, well, we go to this place scuba diving in Mexico. Well, they did too. So I think, try to have, when you have to have the Zoom family meetings, try to come up with some topics that you've never had as a way to just get to know something else about the family. And one that I've learned is applications like Mural, M-U-R-A-L, which are Post-it note apps. And one family did this thing, it's a exercise called I Like. So you do stick-it notes about things you like about the family business, and they're anonymous. So you may say, I like this about Autobell. I like that Chuck is doing this. And so, his grandchildren can go and do sticky notes, and he doesn't know which of his grandchildren put things. Then you have a section and you could put, I wonder And so one grandchild might say, I wonder why my cousin got promoted, or I wonder when we're going to put younger people on the board of directors, or I wonder when we're going to discuss the dividend policy. I'm not picking on you, Chuck. Or, you know, on sticky notes, you might put things that you might not say at the family retreat. Or you might say, I wonder if we're ever going to talk being sold to a private equity fund. And then there's another section where you say, I hope in 10 years, the family business is like this. So it's really revealing if you say, I like, I wonder, and I hope. And all generations do it. And then I think it is, again, I've seen people try to do this in person, but something about putting the little sticky notes on the board, and then you group the ones that are similar together. And maybe 5 people wonder about how family compensation is set. Well, then whoever the executive committee is or the family council or whatever governance is, should say, there were 5 people questioning how family compensation is set. Maybe that's a takeaway. Maybe we should take that one away. Now, there'll probably be some wild ones like, why don't we have the family retreat in Maui every year? You know, there'll be some fun ones, but there may be some unspoken ones that really need to be put on the table. So that's one of the best ones I've seen, Torsten, in a while. That was really, some cards were laid out that even in family retreats, I thought were some of the most transparent things that affect all families. The questions are the same. And I've been to lots of these things. You and I know what the questions are. It's just different players. So so I think we have to embrace the technology. That would be my other thing, that we have some good tools, and now's the time to embrace some of this technology since we can't be together physically.
Thank you very much, Susan. And you're right. You see a lot of ingenuity, innovation, out of the box thinking that this crisis has triggered, especially amongst the families. If I can add, and I need to look up murals later on. That sounds really intriguing. I've heard of one family. Of course, everybody's now planning the end of year celebrations and what that is supposed to look like, right? And to add to your examples, Susan, maybe some of our panelists, they have thought about something else. But one family business they're planning on doing a Jeopardy event for the family where they prepare questions to everyone about the family, about the business, to send them out and go do some research to learn about the family and its history and who is involved, why they do the things they do. So I thought that's a really fun way to get people involved. And we hear from a lot of families too that they've never communicated as much as they do now in the past, right? So a lot of this has also apparently brought up some good things, like people feeling more connected. And
then the wine party, some families are doing the wine party. They're not getting together for Thanksgiving, where you order the wine, you do the wine tasting, you order the wines, and you do the wine tasting. I know some that are doing that for Thanksgiving due to the COVID concerns, and order the wine. The family office pays for it, so hey, you can't beat that. You know, it's deductible. You know.
Exactly. Oh, thank you very much, Susan. Chuck, coming back to you and to Autobell, you have a lot of family involved in the business, not only on the ownership side, but also on the management employee side, which is just phenomenal to see that level of involvement. To what extent do you think that level of family involvement has given you some positive energy or good things that came from it, especially in dealing with COVID-19 and all the related events. Can you maybe share a few things that are advantageous coming from the family and its involvement in the business?
Well, our industry has been historically and still is family-oriented type business. And by that, I mean most car wash companies are family-owned. And they may have 1 wash or 10 washes or 20 washes, but the family runs them. And so there's a connection there. We as a family and we as car washers love to visit other car washes. Wherever we go, we'll find a car wash and we'll go look and we'll introduce ourselves to the owner. And in all probability, that owner has his family in the business. And so over the years, we develop these friendships and relationships with car wash operators all over the country. And that's a great opportunity to share ideas, best practices, if you will, discuss what's going on. And from that, associations have formed. There's a handful of international even associations that are strictly for car wash. Then there's regional associations, and we participate in all of those, even serve on their boards of directors and participate in that way. So, you know, that's, and the family is all very much involved. Now, private equity is beginning to come into our business, as I mentioned earlier, that they are interested in car washes now, I guess, because service type business. And, but still, the vast majority of car washes, at least for now, are still family-owned businesses. Outside of the industry, there are other organizations. One that our executives and family members belong to is called Vistage. You may have heard of that. It's a collection of operators, officers from various unrelated businesses who get together and share best practices. And I encourage that for any of our people that are interested in doing that. We are in communication with our friends in the industry through online chat rooms, Facebook, you name it. And so it's all a good way to share information and best practices. And we encourage our own family to continue that practice. It's just a great way to keep up with and be a part of what's going on in the industry. And they are doing that. So,
thank you very much, Chuck. Let us take a question from the attendees here, and this connects very well to something that Mike and Larry, you shared earlier. Here's a question about how involved are you as an owner and leader in building and maintaining a company culture, and how do you measure the importance of culture? You made a comment, Larry, that both you and your wife are very involved, and I like this statement from you. It just resonates so much what family business is. One of the things that family business is all about. I would never ask an employee to do something I would not do. I think that's just very emblematic of the commitment and leadership style of family businesses. So how do you do culture?
Well, obviously being there, being part of it. I think our dad taught us at a young age when we did have the one tire store. It was not unusual to see him changing tires on a busy day, changing whatever had to be done, he did, and we did too. And I still do it in the brewery side. I'll take the trash out. I will work the bar, whatever. And you know, the employees see that and they love that you're there arm in arm with them, doing everything that they do. And you don't really have to, but I do. I enjoy it. And I think that's the biggest thing you can do to set a great culture, is to be present and be part of it.
Yeah, I can definitely piggyback that. When people ask me what my job title is, I just say janitor and up, and it's basically along those same themes, doing whatever it takes to get it done. As you can imagine, though, too, some of the challenges if you're trying to grow a business beyond one store or one business, you can't be everywhere, and then therein lies a challenge. So when you have those opportunities where you can get your hands dirty or jump in and do something that you see needs to get done in front of leaders around you, you hope that they learn from that and then they can spread that same goal. But that's always a topic of discussion is doing whatever it takes to get the job done, create a team, have a lot of humility, hard work. That's that culture that you have to have, and that's the most important thing. Chuck has got a way greater challenge because he's got over 2,000 employees. We have a few hundred employees, but still, I think what keeps us up is trying to create those examples and trying to put people in leadership positions to execute. One other thing that Dad taught us is really focusing on your customers' happiness. I won't get this right, but it's basically you got to laser focus on your customer's wallet and make sure that you take care of it and they get great value. And if you do that, kind of everything else falls into place. And that's something that we always try to do. And if you go to my brother's microbrew, you'll see that you have a great experience there. It's not, and now he has to charge $6 or $7 for that pint, but it's still a great value and a great experience.
And I'm sure there's several, including myself, who can't wait to give that a try. So thank you very much.
One thing I'll add to that, I'm a big believer in the small details. You take care of the small details, sort of the big stuff will take care of itself. And so I believe a lot in that.
Yes, I think it's Theodore Roosevelt who used to say, keep your eyes towards the stars and your feet on the ground. Right? There's a lot of truth to that, especially in family business. Here's another question. Let's pull this one in because it connects very well to some of the other things we talked about. How has COVID changed how you have thought about the family legacy? And if so, how has that affected your business decisions, structures, and other things? This is coming from our colleague, Dr. Justin Webb. Thank you, Justin. So how has the COVID-19 affected how you think about the business legacy? Anybody who would like to take this one? Chuck, perhaps?
Well, I'll give it a go.
Thank you.
Estate planning is something I'm sure that everybody does. I've been involved in that since my dad passed away in 1986 because I had to be his executor and settle all that and assume the position of president. And so since that time, I've had an ever-changing, because the company's changing, and ever-changing plan on what should happen, what I would like to happen when the time comes. And so now here's the pandemic, and nobody knows when you're going to be stricken and not be around anymore. I've always tried to grow the company in such a way that I don't have to be here. That, if any one of us should suddenly not be here, the rest of the company, the people, that's just our culture. They'll step up, as the Griffins were saying. If there's a job to be done, you step up and do it. And that's the way we are exactly. So if I'm not here, I'm not worried that the company will continue. Adjustments will be made. People who are family members and people who are company family members will continue on. But we do have a plan. We do have family meetings where we discuss what that plan is and who will be in charge and who will be next in charge. And buy, sell, and all that sort of things. Very much a part of our planning.
Thank you very much, Chuck.
Yeah, maybe just to add a little to that, I think as far as COVID, it's mainly a reminder that we're guaranteed at some point we're not going to be here, and that but I wouldn't say that COVID has changed our goals and our, it's had that profound of a change. I think it's just that reminder, and then you do have to do estate planning, a legacy planning, and I like what Chuck said too. I think my brother and I are aware that you on occasion kind of have to fire yourself. You have to get yourself in positions where you're not so consequential to the day-to-day existence of your family business. And we've definitely started that through family meetings and trying to, get the third gen. We have 6 G3s. My brother and I, we consider ourselves G2, second generation, my father being G1. So we have 6 G3s to at least get acquainted with the business, and we've been doing that. And it's been a fun process. And but I wouldn't, it's just COVID in my eyes related to legacy it's a reminder that we're not guaranteed to be here. We don't want to leave anytime soon, but we're not guaranteed.
Well, and I would say, the banks had stress tests, I think COVID was a stress test for all businesses. If you were in trouble, COVID accelerated that. It made family businesses review their strategic plans. And if they had not done a good job of that, it accelerated that. I think people that had not done a good job on succession planning, it made them do a good job. So I think to the extent there was some things people were slack on, 2020 made them reconcile some things. The same on financial plans. So I think in retrospect, when we look back 10 years from now, 2020 will have been a year that installs some discipline in some things. If we hadn't done good on succession planning, if the estate plans, we were like, oh yeah, but the lawyer's so expensive, I don't want to really look at that buy sell again, because people had time to do it as well, because nobody was going to Europe for a month. My clients, I'm like, you can't give me that excuse that you're going to be gone a month in the summer. Come on, we're going to the lawyers, So I think in a way, the family businesses that were in good shape are going to become in great shape. Now they were in bad shape, they're probably going to be acquired or go out of business. So I think it's really going to be a year of the strong get stronger and the weak are merged out. And that's the process you're starting to see. And so that's why you're seeing that private equity is really going through and sifting through here. But the people that had really, and this also points out the strength of that balance sheet and the strength of great cash flows. Because you could talk about valuations all day long. It's what's the cash? In a pandemic, it's what's the cash, what's the monthly cash flow, what's the recurring cash flow. So in a way, I think business and the valuations are also returning to more things we learned in school about cash flow. And so I think that's going to be good too, because the world of financial valuations, as we all know, had got a little crazy. So I hope in hindsight, it'll be a return to sensibility on some things.
Yes, thank you very much, Susan. We've colleagues shared this analogy with the crisis being like a magnifying glass, right, for many families. Those that are strong and the businesses that are going, they will keep going and probably get stronger. And those where you saw rifts are probably struggling even more. Yes, and something else you mentioned, Susan, that is true too. That's I think emphasizes a lot more what family businesses strengths are all about. Yes, they have a lot of functional, operational redundancies, right? But this crisis shows that that's actually good, right? They have some resources and some things that they can leverage now because they have all this slack, right? Versus in good time.
I love about family businesses, and I think both these companies exhibit it so well, and you academic people can't really pin it down, which I love it when academic people can't figure it out. And that's the ability to pivot. They can pivot. And it's so hard to actually define that skill, but they're doing it.
Yes. And doing it while you preserve your legacy, right? Because that's what some family businesses tend to be a little bit shy about. Oh my God, what are these previous generations going to think of me, right? Looking down, if I change things around here, and we don't make, right? We don't change tires anymore. What
would Larry and Mike's dad think about a brewery, from a tire company to a brewery?
But very successful, right? It's a great example that I think it's a Swedish company, the Wallenbergs. They have this saying that goes something like, the only tradition worth keeping is the desire to change, right? And I think you all exhibit this in a superb fashion. Yes.
Well, one of the abilities to be able to pivot is being that even though we've been very fortunate, we're instant success over 60 years. It took 60 years of building a foundation, and we learned to be conservative and not be aggressive. We do see a lot of startups, not say we observe a lot of people in startups that seem to want to get somewhere very quick, and they get themselves over levered or get a balance sheet that's very dangerous. And then if there's an unexpected hiccup, and obviously 2020 is defined as the ultimate unexpected hiccup, they don't have the staying power, and they just didn't. They tried to get somewhere too quick, and we've seen that in industries that we're in. I think there's some of that in the microbrew. I'm sure there's some of that in the car wash. There's some of that in the trades that we've invested in, and it's part of competition. When that happens, and maybe it gives us more opportunity, but it's some aspect of patience is important.
Very well. Gosh, I feel like we could carry on this conversation for hours more, because this is just fantastic what you all share, and so rich and insightful. So, in the interest of time, however, we need to start wrapping things up here. I can't believe how time flew. But before we do close, I want to give each of you a few moments just to share any final thoughts, observations, comments. Chuck?
Well, I want to thank you for putting this together today. It's been a learning experience for me, and a chance to refresh my thinking about the family business and where we're going and what we're doing. So I do appreciate the opportunity. And family businesses, I think, are going to be around for a long time. This is one great thing about our country, that if you have the desire, you can make a living doing almost anything. And the Griffins see that, I think, in some of their dirty businesses. You find something that either is difficult for somebody else to do, or somebody else doesn't want to do, and then do it well, and be conservative, as Mike says, and you, in all likelihood, will be successful.
Larry, Mike, concluding thoughts?
Well, yeah, again, thank you. Really enjoyed this, getting to know Chuck's company even more, even though we're lifelong Charlottean and have seen his tremendous growth. But I think there's a lot of similarities, obviously in our family cultures. They're completely different businesses. Just do what you say and say what you do. If you do those things, work hard, be present, as we talked about. To Chuck's point, you can make a nice living at doing almost anything. And I think that's what we've done.
Yeah, well, I've enjoyed following Autobell. I have to confess this, Chuck's son, Carl, was my little brother in my fraternity. So I've got to have the privilege of meeting Chuck and knowing the family business since the mid 80s. So that's been a privilege to watch them grow. Chuck said one other thing too. peer-to-peer groups. There's a bunch of peer-to-peer groups, and my brother and I both have had the privilege of participating in different ones. And my brother's was 20 Group, which is a great organization that aligned him with 19 other like-kind thinking, at that time, tire professionals, tire and automotive repair professionals. And I was in a group called YPO, very similar. Just we had a group, 15 years, I had a forum that I got with on a monthly basis to discuss best practices in our business. So that would be the other thing, I guess, for other family business folks that maybe on this call or people starting businesses, find your peer group and really try to invest in it and get something out of it. Thank you for your time. Now I've learned a lot from comments from Chuck and Susan, and even from my brother. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Susan, some concluding thoughts?
Well, I just enjoyed being with it. I just also think we need to encourage young people to go to work for family businesses. That's not often a career path. We even teach in college that we have the idea that you have to work for a big company or something. And I love the Zoomers that the Griffin brothers are doing. And I just think also that's a pathway for a lot of minorities and all, that we really need to help them, that owning a family business, even a small one, is just a pathway to prosperity. And we really just need to make that more inclusive in our society. I think that's just something we haven't done a good job in our society. I think that's just a great thing we can all work on, encouraging young people to work for family businesses.
Absolutely, yes. I could not agree more with you, Susan. Well, thank you very much. Really, a heartfelt thanks to Larry, Mike. It's a rare treat, really, to have two members of the same family business with us. Thank you very much, Chuck. Thank you. A G4 family business. That's less than 1% who make it to that stage. So kudos to you, and keep up the good work with your business and your family. And Susan, you just have an eclectic knowledge of so many family businesses. That's just really delightful and really profoundly insightful to hear about. So thanks to all of you, and I will now pass it back to Dean Troyer for some closing comments.
Thank you, Dr. Pieper, and a big thank you to our panelists today. This was really quite a bit of fun, and certainly having the four of you available to help explain to both the business community and our students what family business is all about has been a super asset. So thank you. All right, so a couple of announcements. So please join us on December 8th for our Entrepreneurial Decisions series. So this is our public speaker series featuring entrepreneurs. On December 8th, we'll have a conversation with David Raven, so president and CEO of Northwood Raven LLC. And then on December 10th, we have the UNC Charlotte Barings Economic Forecast. And also stay tuned for some updates on the Spring Dean's Leadership Series events. You can learn more about this event and other 50th anniversary events online at belkcollege.uncc.edu/50. And then finally, just thank you for joining us today. Please stay safe.